You say yourself, as people get away from the fundamental versions of these things, things tend to go haywire. And so, in essence, what you're saying is that as
people tend to go haywire in what sense?
Oh, I thought I was interpreting...
multiplicity of interpretations.
Right.
Well, yeah, but so people are in
That's
people
the
are in
moral
search of better
relativism
heuristics. I think the pressure is some of these heuristics are obviously so bad that there's civilizational pressure to find better interpretations.
But you said that the fundamentalists have an advantage.
Yeah.
What is that advantage?
Because if you just go back to the text and say, listen, I want to understand what these words mean, right? You get at the first pass the quote literal interpretation, right? And you're not bringing any armamentarium you've got from the outside, from other parts of culture, to parse the text. You're just trying to, if it's in English and you speak English, you're just trying to decode the words, right? And when it says, if the girl's not a virgin on her wedding night, take her to her father's doorstep and stone her to death. That you know what stone means, you know what girl means, you know what father means, and you're 90% there to an obvious atrocity. Right?
I get the horror of it, and we'll get to that in a second here.
Yeah.
But the basic point is to say that the fundamentalists have an advantage is to acknowledge something functional about those stories, which I'm claiming are going to be some kind of evolutionary heuristic for living a life. Doesn't make them defensible.
They have an advantage. It's not an advantage that. It's an advantage. It's a mimetic advantage. It's an advantage. ISIS has the advantage when the people who share their interpretation of Islam. It's why someone like Anwar al-Awlaki could make YouTube videos that so many people found compelling. It's because it's totally straightforward. It's like the advantage is, listen, there's a lot of people spending a lot of time lying to you about what these books mean and what the prophet and how he lived, right? You know in your heart that my interpretation of this is correct. You just read the words, right? And there's a strength in that. There's an honesty in that. It's clear when it says sacrifice a goat. Goat means goat, right? Like you don't have to do something else to make goat mean having nothing to do with goat, right? And so that it's an asymmetric war of if you're going to try to make your dogmas more and more palatable by importing stuff that clearly was never even in the worldview of anyone who birthed these religions, you're not doing that because you want to live even more by God's word. No, you found some of God's words unacceptable, right? And every fundamentalist can sniff that out, and they're right to sniff it out because it is in fact the motivation.